I remember the day I celebrated our 1-year anniversary as if it were etched in neon. A table for two at our favourite rooftop bistro, the city lights drifting beneath us like fireflies, and his smile, so radiant I thought I'd melt into the cushion beneath me. He pressed a slim envelope into my hand, voice soft. "Open it when you're ready." I teased us with a kiss, ripped it open, and found a certificate for one night at the Grand Bloom Hotel, our city's crown jewel of romantic getaways. I beamed. "Best gift ever," I whispered, brushing back my hair. He squeezed my hand. "Wait till you see the suite." That suite never came, and neither did he. 2 days later, I woke to a text at 3:17 a.m. "Hey, I've been thinking. I don't think I'm ready for forever. I'm sorry. Good luck with everything. No love you, no apology beyond the barest word." I stared at the dark screen, heart pounding. The Grand Bloom certificate slipped from my fingers and drifted to the floor like a wounded bird. My phone blinked with missed calls from best friend Mara. I called her back, voice flat. "He broke up with me." Mara's gasp cratered my chest. "On your anniversary?" "Yeah. He said he needs space. I already put down the deposit for Saturday." "Don't go," she said. "Stay home, have margaritas." But I needed closure, or a new plan. That afternoon I sat on my couch in my pajamas, the certificate mocking me from the coffee table. I ran my thumb over the logo, a gilded rose. My real roses were wilting in the vase. I pictured the suite, panoramic windows, marble tub, rose petal turndown. My breath caught. What if I could make that suite mine, permanently? What if I bought the hotel? I shook my head at the idea's absurdity. The Grand Bloom wasn't a corner cafe, it was a landmark, 4 floors of opulence, 120 rooms, a rooftop garden, a glass-walled spa. Asking price, $12 million. My savings? Enough for a condo down payment. But I'd sold my first business for $1.5 million and inherited another $500,000 from my grandmother. If I tapped into equity, found partners, and leveraged a commercial loan, I could reach half the price. The other half? A silent investor, Mara's fiancé Sam, a hedge fund wizard who owed her more than a few favors. I could do this. I could claim that betrayal and rewrite it into something better. Give it away. I brewed coffee and dialed Mara. "I'm serious," I said. "Help me buy the Grand Bloom." She laughed so hard I thought she'd choke. "You're insane." "Maybe, but imagine, I own the place that broke my heart." Silence for a beat, then, And I give it to you." Her voice cracked. "What? Me? Your dream wed moon suite? That rooftop where you imagined dancing under the stars?" I pictured her white dress swirling in the breeze. She'd been the one cheering me on while I planned my own wedding. It felt right to gift her that moment. Mara sniffed. "Okay, let's see the numbers." We met across from my apartment, laptops open, oatmeal untouched. Mara's fiancé, Sam, joined us by FaceTime, sporting a tie yet eating cereal. I laid out my plan. Refinance my condo for $400K. Tap inheritance, $500K. Mara and Sam invest $500K. Commercial loan, $5 million at 5% over 20 years. Private equity partner approached for $5.6 million. Mara crunched the numbers, eyebrows a single line of disbelief. "It could work," she said. Sam nodded on the tiny screen, swirling milk in his bowl. "I can't promise that much, but $500,000, absolutely." Mara gasped. "He's in." Mara's grin was tin-roof joyful. "We'll need to close in 60 days, I said. "Listing says seller wants a quick sale." Sam snapped his fingers. "I'll handle the loan package." We spent that week in a frenzy. Phone calls with the broker listing Grand Bloom, site visits. I wore heels that clicked like typewriters. Tours of the 1920s-era bar, the pool cabanas, the subterranean wine cellar. The building's bones were solid, original oak floors, arched windows, but needed cosmetic work. New paint, $200K, updated HVAC, $300K, spa renovation, $500K. I drafted a pitch deck, Grand Bloom revived, Heritage meets hospitality. Colours, blush, gold, sage, mood boards, chandelier sketches, rooftop garden lounge, rose petal baths. Mara nearly cried at the mood board. "It's gorgeous," she whispered. On that Friday, I met Helene Grant, the broker and a third-generation Bloom family descendant at the old Persian rug-lined office building. She studied me over a cup of Earl Grey. "You're young," she said. "Buying a hotel this size is unusual." I sipped my tea. "I'm second acting on an anniversary gift." She tilted her head. "The certificate?" "Yes." I pulled mine from my bag, the gilt-lettered envelope. "I want to give it to my sister. She deserves a fairy tale." Helene's lips curved. "Sounds like a story the board will love." She slid an LOI across the mahogany table. 11.8 million 60-day closing, 500K deposit. I signed, adrenaline punching my veins. "Yes." I pulled mine from my bag, the gilt-lettered envelope. "I want to give it to my sister. She deserves a fairy tale." Helene's lips curved. "Sounds like a story the board will love." She slid an LOI across the mahogany table. $11.8 million 60-day closing, 500K deposit. I signed, adrenaline punching my veins. That night at 11 p.m., I called my attorney, Nora. She basically smacked her forehead when I told her I'd signed. "Congratulations on your midlife crisis," she said. "We'll draft the PSA, purchase and sale agreement. Developer side wants environmental study, termite inspection, liquor licensing review. I'll coordinate." I nodded off by midnight, dreams of rose petals and rooftop music. The weekend blurred into inspections. Structural engineers probing balconies, HVAC specialists measuring vents in the spa, city inspectors checking occupancy and fire codes. Mara and I sprinted through paperwork, liquor licenses, food permits, A-Day compliance. Sam lined up the loan documents, spreadsheets blinking with formulas. By Monday, our silent partner was in, our loan pre-approval solid, and our equity partnership set. On Tuesday, I flew to Miami for the annual Boutique Hotel Summit, partly to network, partly to cover my stress with margaritas. Between panels on unique wedding amenities and maximizing rooftop revenue, I texted Helene, "How's the board looking?" She replied with a thumbs-up emoji and, awaiting signatures. I closed my eyes and let the heat of the Florida sun bake me calm. Thursday, we signed the PSA in the broker's plush conference room overlooking the skyline. I walked out clutching the stamped deed. I was official owner of the Grand Bloom Hotel. The world blurred. I called Mara, my voice trembling with triumph. "It's ours!" She laughed like wind chimes in a hurricane. "This is insane! Best anniversary ever!" We toasted with sparkling water. Saturday dawned clear. I drove to the Grand Bloom with a rented U-Haul, courtesy of Sam's side hustle, and boxes of wedding paraphernalia, table linens, candelabras, rose petals. I unlocked the front doors with my new master key, the floral logo shining on a copper plaque. I led Mara through the grand foyer, marble floors, velvet chaise lounges, the sweeping staircase. We laid out her wedding invitation mock-ups on the reception desk. "You get this suite," I whispered, leading her up to the presidential terrace. She gasped at the 180-degree views, city skyline on one side, bay on the other. We poured rosé from a chipped bottle I'd hidden in my purse and toasted to every dream reborn. That evening, I closed the eyelids of the entire hotel, lights dimmed, staff retrained, locks rekeyed, no new bookings, no anniversaries, no more Grand Bloom vouchers. It was mine, and now hers, forever. As I left the Grand Bloom for the first time as owner, I paused at the gate, looked up at the glowing sign and whispered, "Thank you for the lesson." Betrayal had been the currency, generosity the redemption. And this palace of roses, was living proof that sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the one you give to someone you love more. I drove up the winding drive of the Grand Bloom Hotel just before dusk on opening night, my heart pounding like the percussion in a march. Glittering fairy lights wove through the oak branches lining the entrance, and staff in crisp navy blazers stood at attention, greeting arriving guests with warm smiles and welcome flutes of champagne. I stepped out of my car, smoothing the lapels of my own blazer, and took a slow, satisfied breath. The hotel lobby beyond the glass doors was transformed. Soft rosewater scents mingled with polished mahogany, bouquets of peonies and hydrangeas sat atop reception desks, and a string quartet played a modern waltz beneath a crystal chandelier. This was the Grand Bloom reborn, not as a monument to one broken heart, but as a beacon of new beginnings. Inside, Mara met me with tears in her eyes. "It's perfect," she whispered, brushing a loose curl from her face. I hugged her, feeling the warmth of her gratitude flush through me. Behind us, the ribbon stretched across the entrance, and a crowd of my closest friends, business partners, and local dignitaries gathered, glasses raised in anticipation. I tapped a pair of oversized gold-handled scissors together. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, voice echoing in the hushed hall, "thank you for joining us tonight. What began as a gesture of heartbreak has become a celebration of community, resilience, and the power to turn pain into purpose. It is my honor to declare the Grand Bloom Hotel, now Wild Rose Manor, officially open." With a flourish, I cut the ribbon. Applause thundered, cameras flashed, and the doors swept open as guests poured into the courtyard for a garden reception. Over the next hour, I mingled with guests under the cascading wisteria. Councilwoman Ramirez raved about our partnership with local art collectives. Event planner Celeste complimented the venue's new bridal suite. Transformed into Mara's honeymoon chamber, complete with rose-patterned silk and a private view of the bay, and investors toasted to the success of our revenue-sharing model for intimate gatherings. A young couple in the corner, who had once been shut out of large weddings, shared their excitement at a tiny vows service they'd booked for next month. Their joy reminded me of why I'd given the hotel away, to open its doors, not close them. Yet, amid the laughter and clinking glasses, I felt a pulse of tension when Andrew's name cropped up on a staff roster. Earlier that day, a junior manager had handed me a printout. "Attempted reservation, J. Thompson. Denied." For a fleeting moment, I pictured his arrival tonight, creeping through the rose garden or loitering in the lobby, but then I banished the thought. He had no place here anymore. Later, as the string quartet played a soft reprise of our opening waltz, I slipped away to the service elevator, determined to check on my staff. In the polished corridors, I found our new housekeeping team prepping the penthouse, stocks of rose petal turn down, fresh truffles in the minibar, and Mara's custom welcome note hand-lettered on fine stationery. I whispered a word of thanks to each attendant. "You're the heart of this place," I told them. Their smiles were small gifts, proof that the spirit of the hotel lived in its people. At midnight, the courtyard emptied except for me and Mara. We stood by the fountain, its statue of a wild rose sprayed in soft moonlight. I removed my jacket, letting the breeze brush my arms. "I owe you everything," Mara said. I shook my head. "You found me my new purpose." We clinked leftover glasses of rosé in a private toast. The following morning, I arrived early to check on the front desk. The night manager, Luis, greeted me from his station. "Your suite, Ms. Sinclair, Narciso," he said with a professional nod. I had reserved the presidential for one night, my own chance to see the space through a guest's eyes. I walked through the suite, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, a freestanding tub carved from marble, and the balcony where I had first imagined escaping into childhood dreams. As the sun rose, I breathed in the salty air, feeling gratitude tingle in my fingertips. As I dressed for a day of meetings, my phone buzzed with an alert. "Unauthorized entry attempt at Gate 2, license plate JD4527. I tapped through. A silver sedan had tried to swipe its pass, and the guard had denied it. Someone named J. Thompson had attempted to enter. I flashed my staff badge to the guard in the lobby and called security. "Please dispatch someone to Gate 2, I said calmly. "Handle it discreetly." Moments later, I joined my general manager, Eleanor, in the boardroom. Andrew tried to get in, I said, voice level. Her eyebrows shot up. He knows, she murmured. What do you want me to do? I paused, recalling the raw sting of that anniversary night. Keep him out, I decided. No exceptions. A minute later, our security head, Raj, confirmed by radio. The sedan had been turned away. The license plate was blacklisted, and Andrew was officially barred from the property. I folded my arms, relief flooding me. My sanctuary was secure. That afternoon, Mara and I hosted a ribbon cutting for the community garden extension on the newly acquired parcel. Mayor Torres praised our inclusive vision. Local press snapped pictures of children running through sunflower rows, and volunteers in matching green t-shirts handed out plant starters. I watched Mara crouch beside a young girl planting zinnias, guiding her small hands into the soil. In that moment, I felt anchored to the promise of renewal. Not just for myself, but for every life this place touched. By evening, our first guest, a bride eloping in secret, arrived to check into Mara's suite. She gasped at the rose-petal trail leading to the bedroom, then hugged me. "Thank you for this," she whispered. "None of my friends know I'm here. I needed a place that understood me." I kissed her cheek and wished her happiness as I retreated to the lobby. Later, I settled into my suite with a book, listening to the soft hum of the city below. My phone lay silent beside me, no calls from Andrew, no haunting text. I realized I'd closed a chapter on heartbreak and opened a volume filled with possibility. I drifted to sleep to the distant murmur of waves and vows, whispered under ancient oak branches. Weeks later, a parcel arrived addressed to me, a single red rose in a glass dome, bearing a cryptic note, "You can't erase the past." I held the rose, remembering my own pain. Then I carried it down to the garden and laid it at the base of the wild rose statue, letting it become part of our living tapestry. If Andrew wanted closure, he could find it in the memory of one discarded gift, now blooming as compost for new life. Within 6 months, Wild Rose Manor thrived. 90% occupancy for tiny vow ceremonies, a waiting list for community classes, sponsorships from local non-profits. Our giving garden fed food-insecure families. Our healing suite hosted free retreats for survivors of loss, and our legacy scholarship funded hospitality training for underprivileged youth. I watched the hallways fill with laughter and the dining room pulse with conversations, my own sweetest revenge. One crisp autumn afternoon, Clara and I walked the rose labyrinth, avenues of petals swirling beneath our boots. She reached for my hand. "You did it," she said, voice soft with wonder. I nodded, tears glinting. We did it. In the distance, a bride in a simple gown traced vows on a stone altar. A child chased a puppy through the herb garden. At the far gate, the guard nodded at a delivery truck bound for the orchard pavilion. And above it all, the grand sign of Wild Rose shimmered. Once broken hearts, now home to new beginnings.